Hi guys. Since I've been talking so much about my homemade crackers from a recipe called Maria's Crackers that I got from my sister in China, I went ahead and attempted to do a how-to video because they really are as simple as the video looks. So bear with me. I'm home alone with both babies. So take it for what it's worth, but really they're so simple. They're so good. I really have not had any other store-bought crackers since I started making my own. So enjoy! Okay, so this recipe is it's called Maria's Crackers. I got the recipe from my sister who lives in China. And if you can find a pastry flour, that's great. I'm going to post the recipe. If you don't have a pastry flour, I modify like my sister does, and it's 1 3/4 cup regular flour. And that's my toddler begging for a cracker. And just a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. So I've got my flour and my cornstarch already here. And then I'm adding my water and olive oil according to the recipe. And start to stir that up. I like to add a pinch of salt just to make sure I've got some salt incorporated into the dough. Although I am going to sprinkle some more on the dough when I get everything spread out. So just a little bit, and I think this might be in the recipe, it may not be. This dough is definitely much flakier than the first batch that I've got in the oven now. So you want a pretty solid, not too mushy wet kind of dough. And you're just going to mix that all together real well. And then the next step will be spreading it out on the pan, so hang tight. Okay, so what I use is a standard size cookie sheet, and I take about half of that dough because it's actually going to make 2 cookie sheets worth of crackers. So you only want a ball that fits nicely in your hand. And you're going to want to spread just a little bit of olive oil on your pan. Helps give that nice golden color on the underside of the crackers. Now this is hot because I just got it out of the oven. But just spread it all over your pan. And then you're going to just press your dough into it. And what I always say is if you think it's thin enough, keep going. Because you really, really want it nice and thin. And some people roll it out. Her instructions say to roll it out. I don't have a rolling pin that will work because my cookie sheets are ridged. So I just use my hand. And again, I've made these quite a few times, so I pretty much know how thin I want them to get. But you're just going to keep pressing and pressing, and it's okay if you have some of these holes in your dough because it's just going to make them flakier because the dough will come together and make the cracker. So again, I'm just pushing this together and getting it thin. And like I said, when you think, oh, that's thin enough, keep going. I can almost fill the cookie sheet by the time I'm done if I've evenly measured everything out. So I push it out to the edge, and then I come back and try to make it as even Stevens as I can. I don't mind if they're a little bit thicker. Some people prefer them to be really thin. I'm just concerned with getting a nice flaky cracker. That's pretty much what I focus on when I do them. So I'm pretty happy with what I see there. So you can see it's not perfect. It's not one thin layer of consistent dough. There are some gaps, and like I said, it's okay. They're going to cook up to be just fine. I take a little bit more salt, and I just lightly sprinkle. I'm not a big salt eater now that I'm on the 21-day fix. And then I take my Lawry seasoned salt. I just sprinkle that on. And your last step is to take your pizza cutter, and you're basically just making your perforated lines that you can then bake. You can break up your crackers with once you take them out of the oven. They will bake up with these perforations, and you can just break them up as you go to store them after they've cooled for a few minutes, and you will have the most delicious crackers, all homemade. So I think you can see this is what they look like when they get out. You want a lot of that moisture baked off. They look pretty dry. This is the pan that I just took off and put on the cooling rack. So you can tell that they're just a really nice, dry, thin, golden brown cracker.